What up, YouTube? So today's gonna be part 2 of the Honda Accord motor swap, and we're gonna be taking this engine out and dropping the JDM engine in from yesterday that was stripping down. So basically gonna do the same thing to this one, get this one all taken apart. I already got the battery taken out, so I don't have to worry about anything going electrically wrong as far as popping any fuses or anything. So basically just gonna start taking off this cover and try to start getting to the engine harness so we can get that all taken apart. Basically gonna get to the engine harness, start taking this air box out, and yeah, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We're gonna take off our power steering, the alternator, AC pump with the water pump housing, and take off our intake manifold because we're gonna be using this half. Trying to think what else. We got radiator hoses, brake lines. I mean, not brake lines, vacuum, brake booster line, our fuel line. Yeah, just everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting on. Let's see, let's start taking off our brake booster line. And then let's get this intake off. The intake's not really coming off right there. It's kind of stripped. I'm gonna just go for the tins. So. Let's see what else we got. I'll start messing with everything just to kind of go around the hole, whatever's easier for right now. I got our coil packs disconnected, fuel injectors. That's our map sensor, and like I said, this is a drive-by throttle, so there's no really TPS and throttle cable for this. So just gotta disconnect the drive-by wire, which is this right here. All right, that's disconnected. There's a 10 millimeter for the harness. Get that bolt right there, and then we got one right here as well. Another 10 millimeter right here. And then let's see, we got the 10 right here. You can see it right there. I just have to take off this extension if it's too long. And we'll get to that 10. And then we can actually get to these hoses right here after. And probably disconnect the first half of the intake manifold. Alright, so that's disconnected. There's another clamp right here at the bottom. So a lot of this stuff is kind of similar from yesterday, but not sure it's actually from the actual CRV, because this bracket, as you can see, is a lot different from the other one. That's why we took that one off. Alright, so that's taken apart. We got a ground right here we can take off real fast. We can reach in there. I'm gonna need an extension for that. So I'm gonna just hop up to the 12 millimeters so we can start taking off the intake manifold. I'll look for my tool real fast and then we'll come back. Alright, so we're back now. I got my 12 millimeter. I'm gonna go ahead and place this down real quick so I can work a little easier. I'm also gonna go ahead and start taking off this intake. I already loosened it up with the Phillips. And you also got these right here. They simply come out. This is kind of gonna get in the way. Oh yeah, we got the sensor right here. There's the intake. All right, so that gives us a lot of access to everything else right here. So we got to disconnect the harness from the fuse box as well, which is going to be these two right here. They're two 8 millimeters. And then we got a ground for the transmission. We're also going to be taking off this tray as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. We'll start taking off these hoses real quick. See if I can get that placed real quick. There we go. So we took them off exactly like this on the other one, so it'll be perfect when we put this manifold back on. Should be a lot easier. It'll just line up. Bottom one. All right, got the top one. Now I think there's still something still holding it back. And it's this plastic box. This is actually for the American style. As you can see, it has this plastic box. So we got it loose so far, but I'm gonna go ahead and just jump to something else while we're still working on this. So start taking off this 10 millimeter. That ground's very important, or the starter won't actually crank without having a ground. 10 right here. And let's see, we also can start, oh, we'll take this off too. And let's do our fuel real quick, which is this line right here. Let's get some pliers. Tricky be holding the camera at the same time. So let's see. Right there. There's actually a special tool for this. I just don't have it. Usually it comes off pretty easy. But this one's not. I'm gonna go to something else. I think it's getting on my nerves, so I'll come back to that. I'll get on this 12mm over here and start taking apart the power steering pump. And then we're gonna get to the alternator, which is 12mm right here and two 12s at the bottom. Alternator has 12 right here and 12 on top. So I'm gonna actually start knocking that stuff out real quick, and then we'll come back and see what else we got to do. All right, so we're back now. I got my 2 bolts off the power steering pump, which is the 2 12s. I got my 3 12s off the alternator. Got the intake manifold off. I forgot that bottom bolt right down there is what I was forgetting for it to come off. So that was the reason why. Other than that, we have access to our water pump housing. We can start taking that apart as well. So the same 3 bolts, 4 14s, and then we're also going to disconnect the AC pump, which is 4 12s. And well, actually we'll just leave it on and take that out with the engine, since it's a little hard to get the bottom bolts out. So there's just 2 10s right here. What you want to do is loosen it halfway and pull it out, so the I'll kind of show you, the air doesn't come out all the way. I'll hit you in the face actually. So I just gotta lift that up, and then I'm gonna get the Freon out of there. Other than that, I got the field thing kind of broke, so good thing the JDM motor got one. This green clip on the bottom wasn't actually compressing, so that's why I couldn't get it out. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and take this 10 off, and then we're gonna start with the battery tray as well. Start getting all this out the way. So there's 2 12s right here, and then 2 at the bottom of this. So we're gonna take that off, disconnect this wiring harness from the fuse box, and start disconnecting all the little sensors around here. And then we'll come back after all that's taken apart. We'll take off the starter, since that's a brand new one. We'll be using that one instead. And then we'll come back and see what else we have to do. All right, so we're back now. We got our AC lines completely out, and our system is been purged already, so that's done. I went ahead and started disconnecting all of these clips over here so far, so all that's basically ready to go. Next thing we need to start getting to, I guess, is disconnecting the harness from the transmission. Which isn't too bad. There's a couple of them. Just gotta push in and should pull out. There's one right here as well, a blue tab. Got that one, and let's see, there's one back here too as well. I think that's for O2 sensor though. Alright, that's disconnected. And then there's one right here. Pressure, I think. And then there's another one. Let's see. It's right down here. Right below this. This is in the way. Right there. There's a black clip right there as well. Yeah, I might have to use my other hand for that one. Anyways, I'm gonna get that clip next. And then we got our oil cooler line. All right, so I'll cut out right there. So I'm gonna get to these cooler lines real fast. That'll be disconnecting from the radiator. And then also another thing, this is actually a K24 A8. A4 is the year before. So they still have like the same horsepower. It might have like a couple horsepower more, but not much difference. Other than that, we need to get to our exhaust manifold, which is I believe 4 12s for the shield, and then 5 up top 14s, and then two 14s at the bottom of that. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the exhaust manifold, and then after that we'll start going for the shifter cable so we can disconnect that from the transmission. And we'll get to the radiator last because I don't want to be at the bottom with fluid down there. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out the rest of that, disconnect the rest of the harness also from the VTC, the VTEC switch, and crank sensor, pressure switch. We're gonna disconnect all those as well. So after that, the harness should be completely disconnected from the engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out, then we'll come back and see what else we have to do. All right, so we're back now, and we got our harness completely taken off from the engine, so that's good. There were a couple more sensors on the transmission. There were actually 2 more on the backside, so I got those taken care of. I got my intake manifold all unbolted. I just have to do the bottom side, so I'm gonna go ahead and start jacking the car up so we can actually get to the axles. And then after we do everything at the bottom for the shifter cable, I'll show you guys what bolts those are and everything in a little bit. And we pop out the axles, we're gonna drain the transmission fluid. And then after we get all the bottom stuff, then we can finish off with the radiator, the heater hoses. And I believe we can start getting to the mounts after that and start pulling this thing out. So we're gonna go ahead and jack this car up, and we'll start getting to the suspension so you guys can see what you need to do to take off the axles and everything. So we'll get to the jack and get it all jacked up, and we'll come back. All right, so we're at the suspension now to get the axles out of the transmission, and the last 2 bolts at the bottom of the header, which are, you can't really see it, but it's that one at the bottom right there. There's 2 on each side, and we have the little axle cover. Unfortunately, these don't actually have half shafts, kind of like the single cam D series, so we won't be disconnecting the bolts off the half shaft. We're just going to disconnect those two, and then we're going to get to the, I believe those are 10s, to disconnect the shifter. So I'm gonna start knocking that out real quick right now, and then after that we'll get back up top so we can start getting to our mounts and picking out the motor. All right, so we're back now, and I'm gonna go over everything I just did because I did kind of jump ahead. So I got the axle out. That was a 32 millimeter. I got the top shoehorn, which is a 14, 17 at the bottom. I got the oil drained so far out of the transmission. As a matter of fact, let me get over to here, the transmission, so you guys can see what I did. So this is the undercover to get to the plate, the automatic torque plate. So there's 4 14s on that. And then we have this that has that plate or the shifter. There's 3 10s behind here. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 tins on the actual plate to disconnect this. And then we have the drain bolt, and all you have to do is just literally use the ratchet. This goes on to this right here. No special tools. So that's pretty much drained. I'm gonna go ahead and put that back on. Now that that's pretty much drained out. And I also took out all the torque bolts off of the flywheel. So let's see if I can get that. I don't know if you guys can see, but yeah, I got that done. I got the axle. I gotta pop it out from the transmission now. Pop out this side, and then let's see. I think that's pretty much it after that. All right, so I'm back. Right before I got disconnected, I was doing the hoses. So got the rear heater hoses off, got my radiator hoses off. I think I found the reason why this car overheated. I think this hose broke, which is I think what happened right here. So it snapped and it was leaking fluid out, and that's what caused this motor to overheat, and that's why it has low compression. So that's most likely the reason why we are swapping this engine. So we are gonna have to replace the radiator as well, which is good because I really thought it was the thermostat, but we're gonna replace that anyway. So radiator we're gonna replace out. Got the hoses out. Now it's time to do our mounts. There's some 14s right here, some 17s right here, 2 17s, 3 17s actually. I did the 2 17s already right here. This is a 14. And then we got some 14s over here. 2 right here. And then 2 more on the transmission. Transmission right there. So we're gonna take those out. And yeah, get to those in the rear. Those are 2 17s and a 14. And we should be able to hoist this thing out and disconnect the transmission so we can put that in the garage for now, put the motor in the backyard, and then the next video we'll be putting the transmission back onto the new engine, starter, water pump housing, etc. So I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking these mounts out, and then we'll come back. All right, so I got the motor out with the transmission, as you can see. It took me about a good 40 minutes just to get this stupid bolt out. This one right here, it was completely stripped, and this bolt right here, or in the mount and the bracket in the back. So it took me forever just to get this in. I don't know whoever did this. Yeah, I'm definitely not putting that back in. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I kind of ran out of time because I gotta delete some stuff. But yeah, next video we'll be taking off the transmission and everything else that we need to put on the new engine, water pump housing, AC pump, pretty much everything that, starter, yeah, everything that's left that we need to take off we'll be putting on the new engine and then dropping it back in. And we got to replace the radiator, and this mount on the driver's side was completely broken already, so we're probably gonna have to replace that as well. Other than that, yeah, I'll probably see you guys on the next video. If you haven't, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.